I feel like with the uncommon path, you got to be willing to travel it and know that not everybody's going to understand it.
Hmm.
You know, I think that's the key piece, and be okay with that. Be okay in your own skin.
Hello, everyone. This is Tim Brown, author of the book Boys Won't Be Boys, Empowering Boys Live Uncommon in a Common World. And I'm blessed to have me today, truly an uncommon young man, Mr. King. They call him Coach King. He's a DJ King, just all those titles, and truly uncommon. But the blessing in that is all those things that he does is to impact young people. Boys and girls, but particularly our conversation today will be about the impact of young men. Coach King, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me, Mr. Brown. Man, you know, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I was really excited about this one, and part of because you actually were a facilitator firsthand
Yes.
for the Boys Won't Be Boys group at Whitehall High School.
Mhm.
Tell me how did that go?
So it's funny how that kind of came about. Miss Liz kind of just hit me. It was just like, hey, we need you to help. I'm like, okay, cool. And then like, I love that piece of it. And then how me and you kind of connected. And we talked about the book. I first read the book on my own to get more of a gauge to see what type of kid I wanted to get into the program versus like, oh, okay, just all these boys just come into this program. When I read the book, it just naturally just sucked me in just based on some of the lessons that were in there that I knew that we could break down on a weekly basis. So most of the boys that were in the program, some were, athletes, some were just kids that I had in class, some were, on our basketball team. But I feel like we really had a good core group of kids that actually took it serious. And that's, one, just to get kids to read in general is a challenge, but then really to be for them to dive into the book, really dive into the lessons, and just some of the conversations that we had were super engaging. So I was excited to be a part of that. And then the COVID stuff hit last year and kind of cut us short a little bit for the second semester. But great book, great engagement. I loved it.
Yeah, one of the things I always share that young men, boys, especially in schools, are looking for conversation from men because they don't see enough men in the classroom as teachers or whatnot. And so they kind of gravitate to that. And it's amazing how they open up, and they begin to share some of their thoughts and things that are really going on in their life, and I think they're more comfortable naturally in sharing that with men. In your experience in teaching, what have you noticed are probably some of the needs you think that young guys need today, some of those gaps they have in their life?
I think you just hit on the main one. It's an ear. It's an honest, a non-judgmental ear that just want that's available to listen to them. I think so many times those kids who do feel like they might have somebody to talk to, whether it's a parent, or whatever, feels like they may not really be able to open all the way up. I feel like some of the boys that I have, some of the young men that I have, like they kind of look at me as like a homeboy almost, but it's like I'm still like, I'm gonna get on you when you're doing something wrong, but I hear you too. So, if you need to express yourself in a certain way, using certain words, I hear you. I might correct you here and there, but I understand that's how you express yourself. So I'm gonna let you express yourself. Then we're gonna have a conversation, break it down. I'm gonna give you a perspective from, a guy that's been through it for 20 years. And then I'm gonna understand the perspective that you're coming from because you're 15, 16, 17 years old. So I think that is one of the biggest things. Like I said, just an open ear, an open and honest ear with somebody that's going to listen to them. And I think they just really need, it's a trust commitment factor too. That's probably one of the hardest things in dealing with young men or just mentoring in general is that you do get connected. And then when it's time for you to, when God sees fit for you to move or, anything, that's the biggest piece. It's not they're like, oh man, I don't want to leave this. It's like, you don't want to leave these kids. It's not the job you leave. It's like, it's hard to walk away from those kids you invested in because so many of them have already been let down. So many of them have already been given up on, so they don't have that trust issue. So they feel like when you open up to them or they open up to you and you build this and then all of a sudden like you out, that's another letdown. But the beauty of it is that if you communicate to them that, hey, I'm here, I'm still accessible, just because you don't see me in your building every day, whatever the case may be, doesn't mean I'm not here for you. And I think that more and more of our kids are starting to understand that, at least when it comes to me, that it's like, hey, I'm still accessible, whether I'm in your classroom, in your hallways, or, in your school district.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. The book is, a lot of those experiences in the book come from me with my sixth grade teacher, Mr. Clayton Burroughs, his first African-American male teacher that I had. And I still have a relationship with him today.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild, we're still in contact. We may not be in the same class, same building, but some of those things that he imparted in me, and we can still have those conversations.
That impact that left on,
yeah, the impact. And the other thing is, I still want to please Mr. Burroughs. That's one thing that I found with young men. They and you know this from working with those guys, they want to please Coach King. They don't want to let Coach King down.
Yeah.
So
and they you know what, and they know when they do, like, and they may, and there's times where they act like they don't care. I just had an incident like today at school, man, where I left and I was upset because it was just like, yo, I can't believe like you're gonna do me like this, and I'm the one that's in the corner.
Right.
And I had to remove myself from that situation, because at the end of the day, going back and looking at it, it's not anything I did. It's not anything that is what that kid is going through at this point, and I'm the one he trusts. So sometimes the one that they trust is the one that they spaz out on too. Yeah. So understanding that, and like you said, they don't want to let you down. And then when they do get that inkling, you almost got to be like, hey, yeah, you did disappoint me, you did let me down, but it's where we learn from it and build off of it. What I'm saying? Versus like, again, quitting on me.
Right. Yeah. I'm still there for you. I'm still gonna be Mr. King. I'm still gonna be Mr. King today, tomorrow, 20 years from now. I'm still gonna be in your corner. I still believe in you, still encouraging you.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the blessings that I want you to talk about, you have the opportunity to be in both the entertainment world and the sports world for guys.
Yeah.
So everybody, all these guys, they all want to be a rapper. They all got their tapes going. And they all think they can ball. And so you're blessed to be in both of those worlds, being a DJ and also being a basketball coach. How does that? What's the influence that athletes and entertainers have on this generation for real? What's that influence?
I think they have a huge influence, because when you talk about where most of these kids, like you said, like where most of these kids want to be, they want to play ball, they want to be a rapper. So for me, the connection piece and the relationship piece is easier to build when you're in those lines. So it's almost like that I don't know if they value or just believe me a little bit more, because I'm in that, but they see that I'm a real person, and that, okay, Mr. King listens to the same music that I listen to, or like, what I'm saying? So it's a relatability kind of factor that helps. But overall, athletes and entertainers are huge because of just the platform that they have. And if they use their platform, in the right way, we can influence the youth. So that's why I'm real big on that, knowing that, this microphone is a weapon, and it can be used for good or for bad. And I choose to use it just to, make impact on somebody. That's always been my thing. And sometimes that's the conversation that some of the kids want to have. That's the way to reel them in. It's like, oh, okay, I don't care about school, I just want to do ball. Okay, cool, let's talk about ball. And then you start getting the layers topped off. The same thing about these guys want to go into the music industry. Okay, cool, I'm not telling you not to, but here's what it takes to get in here. Here's what this really looks like. And then you begin to chop down those layers too. So, and again, that builds that trust piece, that builds that relationship piece, and that connectiveness.
Yeah, and I think for you, you have that credibility, so to speak, because you're not just talking, you really know the business, so to speak. Yeah. And you can help them, you can help them.
Yeah, and you've seen it too, Mr. Brown, like where guys that was there, like, okay, or okay, here's the next step then. This is what we're gonna do. Because you can tell me what you want to do, but if you don't have a plan, it still ain't gonna work. You just talking, you just talking. So that's another thing that we encourage, and I think you do a great job explaining that in that book. Like, we all want to take these uncommon paths, but what's the plan too? Which way are we gonna go to get there? Right. And understanding that sometimes those paths, those plans, they get they go left, they go right, and but if you stay focused, you can still accomplish whatever you want to accomplish.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I had a principal, middle school principal, once said this: one of the challenges with young men today is the word completion, that they don't complete anything.
Right.
They start something and then they just don't finish it, don't complete it. How have you been able to get guys to, when they say they're going to do something, that they're going to be committed to finish it, to complete it?
Yep. And you know what? It's crazy because I use a strategy kind of like the backwards design, like kind of starting with the end in mind. So we do a lot of that. Okay, what's your goal? All right, this is what I want to do. And it's not necessarily, go to NBA. So we even start with your short-term goals. Like, all right, what's the goal for this week? Or what's the goal, for this game? What's the goal for, this semester, this quarter, or whatever the concept may be. So if we know that goal, we can start working backwards. So whatever it is that I'm getting ready to do for today, tomorrow, this practice, next practice, this class, this assignment, is that matching up with my ultimate goal that I set out to do? So because and you see your goal, we work backwards. What steps do I need to already plan to have in place to reach that goal? So I think that is a way. And then also just, again, using that word of commitment and accountability, that you actually hold these young men accountable, because that's another thing that's lacking as well. It's like, we make a mistake, we do something, and we just like, oh, whatever, don't worry about it. It's like there's consequences and repercussions to every action that you have, positive or negative. So, holding these guys accountable and truly, correcting their mistakes, or at least, redirecting them in the path to where they feel like, this ain't the last straw for them. So I think that's key as well.
With you being in education and being in the school building, why is it so important? And speak to young men about why it's so important for them to begin thinking about being in education.
Well, specifically young men and young Black men. I know I didn't see my first Black male teacher until 6th grade, Mr. Irby, health teacher, and then I didn't have one after that. I didn't have one after.
Wow.
And those Black males that I did see in the building were typically custodians, aides, or some type of coach. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't see a Black science teacher. I didn't see a Black, home ec teacher or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't cool, I guess. But it's so important because representation matters. Like, if I don't see myself as a teacher, an educator, I don't think that we are smart, because I associate an educator being someone that is smart, or somebody that has the ability to lead, or somebody that knows a lot, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of these kids do have that knowledge of whatever content area. It's just a matter of how can I present this to other people. So I think it's important just because we need to be represented in the building, especially in buildings in which the majority of the population looks like us. It's important for us to get involved in education from a district level. So when these decisions are being made, they're made with us in mind. And it's important for us to get into it in those positions, because our future depends on it. Right now it's trendy. Right now it's trendy that everybody hears us. Everybody wants to, have the trendy words right now, Coach. If I sit in another PD that talk about equity and equality, I'll tell you what, man, if I hear those two words again in another PD, we're going to have a problem. But those are the buzzwords right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Those are the buzzwords. Just like last year with social emotional learning. And I get it, but those are buzzwords right now. But what about next year when there's a new phase of buzzwords and, we sweep equity and equality under the rug, So we have to be at those tables when those decisions are made, those assessments are being written that's biased and they don't keep us in mind. So that's why we have to be in these positions. Now, is education the most attractive job in the world? No, but it is a very rewarding job if you're down for the grit and the grind. It's one of the only jobs that I like to tell people, hey, you get summers off and you pay. You don't work weekends. You off by 4. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you work 180 days a year, man. So
that's real talk.
Hey,
that's real talk. That's real talk. As far as mentoring goes, Give me a challenge to men and talk to men why they need to be involved. Well, why we got to get off the couch, and stop talking and get involved in the lives of these young men.
Listen, man, if I for as much as I see people complain on social media that's not doing anything, that same energy and effort that you wrote a 4-paragraph Facebook post complaining about this kid or complaining about this program or whatever, that same energy could be used to just write a pen pal letter to it that's encouraging words to a kid. That same energy and effort that you had as a parent from the stand yelling at the coach, you could come and volunteer. You know what I'm saying? You could come and volunteer at the games. Yeah, we ain't saying you had a coach. Maybe you preparing the team meals and your presence is around. It's a positive black male presence. I think that we feel like maybe some males feel like their background isn't safe enough to work with kids. But in my field, I almost feel better if you come from a background that those kids can relate to. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a squeaky clean mentor because it's sometimes nothing that you can relate to. They need to see themselves in their mentor, and the mentors need to see themselves in the mentee, because it's like, hey man, I've been here before. You're going down this path. This ain't the right path you want to go. I think it's important for us to really not criticize so much. Like it's easy to complain about what these kids not doing, but you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, what are you doing to change it? What are you doing to help them? So we need as many men to get involved. And listen, it doesn't matter what program you help to go assist. Like, trust me, we are so short on mentors in whatever program.
Right.
Just get out and help. Start your own. Do whatever. You might have a kid in your neighborhood. Just start with one kid or a group of kids that just wrap your arms around them, man. We need it, man. Because if you look at the violence and everything else that's going on in this city and just the world, it's only downhill from there if we don't get black men to step in.
Right. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot, that there's a sense of urgency, and that the time is now. And the other thing I've seen as well is these young boys, these young men, they're just waiting on us as adults.
Yeah, they are.
Waiting on us. It's almost like, where have you been? I've been waiting on you,
They are. And a lot of that is just because of the lack of what they're not receiving at home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You look at so many of these young men that's raised by single moms, and moms are reaching out and like, yo, what do I do? And I was raised, like that as well. Like, what I'm saying, until my stepfather came into my life, it's like, yo, like these single moms are crying out for help. Yeah. For these young black boys, because they see that every time we turn on the news, the kids that's getting killed are younger and younger and younger.
Yeah. Lastly, this has been a great, engaging conversation. I've learned a lot as well, just listening to you. And that's why I wanted to get you on. But could you describe for the audience what an uncommon young guy looks like? What is it? What does an uncommon guy look like?
So to me, the uncommon guy is the one that's not afraid to take the risk, that's not afraid to step out and go against the grain. The uncommon guy is the one that's not afraid to speak up when they recognize something isn't going right, whether it's in a work situation that could cost you a career, whether it's me stepping away from an opportunity that's not right. The uncommon guy is going to do the dirty work, the grit work, the grind, being able to be a person of character, high integrity. All of those are the uncommon kind of characteristics that I feel like that in order to be successful in life, you got to be willing to take that uncommon path. And that's one of the beautiful things about this book, man. It's like you can do a book study on it. You can just read it just to kind of remind yourself, because every now and then you pick up like, yep, this is a key piece in here, so I feel like with the uncommon path, you got to be willing to travel it and know that not everybody's going to understand it. I think that's the key piece, and be okay with that. Be okay in your own skin.
Yeah, that's powerful. Well, Coach, I want to thank you for choosing that uncommon path. And as we all think about our lives and how we got on that path, what was that turning moment in your life where you said, sure, hey, this ain't working. This ain't gonna work. I got to change my ways. What was that time in your life?
So I think I had two of them. The first one was navigating from college into my first job as a reporter in Philly. It was like when I was really on my own. I had already lived on my own in college at Ohio State, so I felt like that was a breeze. But it was like, okay, I'm 8 hours away on my own with a real career, traveling the country 4 or 5 times a day. You know what I mean, 4 or 5 times a week or whatnot. So that was an uncommon path, and realizing that, hey, I'm in a position as a 23-year-old with a career. I don't need to be trying to keep up with my friends back at home that's still sitting on the same corner, feel like I'm missing something. So that was one. And then the next uncommon, the real change in my life was when I had my first son. And that was when reality hit that no matter which path, uncommon, common, whatever path I was going to take, it was going to be a little person right behind me that was going to, either reap the benefits or feel the consequences of whatever path I chose to take. And I knew that all the decisions I made from here forward was going to affect somebody else. And it continues to do that with 4 kids and a wife, so yeah, that was it really.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, I think at some point, all of us as men come to the point where we realize it's not about us. It ain't about us anymore.
Ain't about us, yeah. Definitely.
Bottom line. Well, Coach, I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate all that you're doing. And I
thank you.
Want to commend you and encourage you to continue being that uncommon man that these guys need to see somebody, And
I want to thank you too, Mr. Brown, because you may not know it, and I don't know how many other people that listen to this get your daily motivations and your daily scriptures and stuff like that. But I'm gonna be honest, like sometimes, and I'm a person that wake up, I read my daily scripture, I read my daily bread. First thing in the morning, that's everything I do. Typically, sometimes yours come mid-morning, but sometimes you would send something and it hits just right at the right moment. Like it just, whether it's the scripture or just. So I encourage you to just continue to do it. Don't feel like you spamming. Somebody may not respond to you, but I'm telling you, man, there's been times where I've been down or I was like going through something right at that hour, and it will come up, Tim Brown in my phone, and I would read it. I'm like, man, that hit right there. I needed that. So I appreciate you for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many other people get it, but I really do appreciate that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, God is blessed. It's just through the power of the Holy Spirit, man.
Sure.
We're like kindred spirits,
Yeah.
When I walked in that first session, when we were together in there doing those sessions, I knew this was this was God, and answered prayer, working together. So thanks for your time. I appreciate you, and we'll definitely keep in touch. All right, be blessed.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Brown. I'll see you.